Hello everyone, this is Greyshot. Sorry I had to split this in two, but here is part two, going over the Italian Partisan battle group for the Americans and the Kriegsmarine for the Doc. Enjoy. Alright, next up, let's go to the Americans. The Italian Partisans. Yes, that's American. So essentially their focus, and the reason why it's different, is the tunnel network. This is going to be in your base, that is main HQ, and then you can go in every sector of the map, build a tunnel. That tunnel is about 50 manpower. You can move from your HQ to wherever that tunnel is. It's a 15-second recharge every time you use it, but you can essentially cycle infantry to any portion of the map that this tunnel is, whether it is connected via territory or not. So if you have a tunnel in your, again, the main HQ, all the way to near the enemy base, and they haven't destroyed it, you can just send your infantry there immediately, and it just pops in. So I could see this being an easy way to hit people from behind and cause all sorts of chaos. Again, a lot of the tunnels are automatically camouflaged, so they're harder to see. Now, there is something we'll get to a little later that may help identify them. As long as you have sight in an area, you can tell, you can have an auto build. Similar like Air and Sea, where you can auto build caches, you can auto build the tunnel, but there is a 2.5 minute cooldown. That being said, other units can make the tunnels, and we'll get to that. But also, the amount of tunnels has a tunnel influence, which depends on other abilities. And yeah, so again, it's just a whole new layer that you have to think of the game. But I will say it is a little bit, I don't say clunky, but the vehicle area where essentially where you have all your unit icons, the tunnels are there. So it does kind of look, I mean, and I'll get to the Kriegsmarine as well, because that's the same issue, but it can kind of look a little cluttered with having all the tunnels there as individual units, cluttering where the armor is supposed to go. I almost kind of feel it wants to go down a little bit more on that side. I understand why they don't, because there's real estate, but it's also taking over more of the middle screen. Suffice to say, there's no great option, but again, it just, to me, feels a little clunky. Now, next up, we have two choices. You have smuggling routes, and you have OSS coordination. Now, smuggling routes essentially is, if there's a tunnel, the enemy takes over that position, you still get resources, about 50% of that area. So there's some portions of Co where there's 16 like munition points, or there might be a 10 fuel. You'll still get 5 or 8 from that area, even if the enemy controls it. You won't be siphoning from the enemy. The enemy will still get the fuel that they would normally get, but you are getting more, which is huge for an enemy force trying to kill these tunnels, because theoretically you could push up, sneak behind the lines, build a tunnel, the enemy captures it back, and you're still gaining resources from those tunnels. That being said, you don't get manpower, only immunity and fuel, and again, it doesn't affect the enemy. Now, the other one is OSS coordination, where you can retreat through the tunnel, and also it reduces the auto tunnel cooldown by 60 seconds. So it goes from 2.5 to 1.5. Again, between the two, I feel like smuggling routes is going to be bigger, especially in like bigger team games, or even in 1v1. Like, it's good in both, because a lot of co-matches, it's an ebb and flow. You're never, unless things really haul down in a 4v4, and especially in a 1v1, it rarely happens, but usually people get pushed back and forth. So if you build a tunnel and you're still getting resources, that's really going to help you out with manpower and fuel to get additional armor, upgrades for your infantry through the American support centers or the air support center, or just any of that stuff. So I see that being a huge win. Not saying that retreating through tunnels isn't bad, but the thing is also about that you have to consider is if you retreat to a nearby tunnel, the enemy can identify where that tunnel is. So it does have a risk reward area to it. So I think between the two, I like smuggling routes a little more. But next up, we have underground detonation and medical caches. And this is where, again, we get a little interesting. So the underground detonation, essentially it starts from a tunnel, then it literally, you light it after picking an area. This fuse goes and it'll go to the target. So you have to have the target, I guess, relatively speaking, I guess, close to a tunnel. And theoretically, the enemy could follow the trail to your tunnel, or at least the general area of where it came from. But it is high explosive. It can like crit vehicles with destroying their engines. So again, a lot of positives there. And then with medical caches, you essentially get every tunnel turned to a medical station, so you can automatically heal your infantry. That's kind of big, so that way, again, for example, you don't necessarily need your medical station back at base necessarily. You could just build that. I am still unsure about the manpower, because technically that thing back at base would solely, give you free manpower, but essentially its ability that you just passive and activates and heals, that's pretty nice. So again, either or. I see the explosive one being a little better, because at least that way that gives you some muni that you can use for, dealing with in-place targets, especially if you can get a tunnel pretty close to the enemy lines. Next, on the other side, we have the resistance fighter, and this is the partisan unit essentially. Again, I'm going to compare it to CoH3, but it's very similar in that way, where you have a standard unit, about 220 manpower, 5-man squad, but you can upgrade them with stolen equipment, from AT rifles to which is the anti-infantry grenade launcher, which is good for getting units that cover, to an submachine gun that's a Breda Model 38A. So it's good for close range. These things can build tunnels. They can also apparently tunnel network between that and a nearby building, which is pretty sweet, to just pop into a building's hello and then pop out. They also get this incendiary grenades, which you've seen in the trailers, so they're throwing just everyone a Molotov cocktail that can stun vehicles, which is big, especially if you're, trying to make sure the enemy isn't getting away. That little stun can be the difference between a tank surviving and dying. And also, of course, does a lot to infantry. It takes about 30 muni, so it's not too expensive. It's about a standard grenade, but also it is a concealed unit, so it can pop out of concealment and then do hit the enemy with minus 40% accuracy and scattered accuracy, apparently for about a couple seconds. I think it's 2 seconds. So not long, but it does do a little bit of a bonus against an enemy force. Make sure that at least you can get in a good punch, and the enemy can't really do much for a short period of time. So again, this is the only thing you can choose. I think it's a pretty good versatile unit. The only thing is, in CoH3, the reinforcement costs for like partisan units were a bit higher, right? They were lower cost, but higher on the reinforcement. So I'm curious to see if they do something similar. And they also gain experience for decapping and capping. So even if this thing is not fighting on the front, it could still be gaining just by, constantly annoying the enemy through the sides, which I think is a nice bonus. And then your two options are your forward headquarters. So essentially you have a headquarters that you can reinforce infantry units from, and then also again with the new upgrade, you can reinforce in a armored vehicle and also in a building. So theoretically you could just keep reinforcing, which might be pretty good. Units fight better, by the way, in the main building, and of course they can use the building to go to other buildings as well in close by. So a pretty sweet ability. Again, I just am curious to see how that works with units popping into another building. Like, how effective is that? I mean, to be fair, I can already think of situations where it's like, oh, there's an enemy MG that's set up nearby. Let me jump to the building next door, jump out, and throw a bunch of Molotovs into it to kill it. Like, you have that sort of situation. But then you have that, or you have a Saboteur that you can deploy. This is a 2-man model, and I believe you can deploy it from any tunnel. That's what it seemed like from looking at the map, but from the live stream I watched. But the big thing about it is you can refund it. Once it retreats back off map, you get 60% of the cost of manpower back to you, which I think is pretty sweet. It does have a little bit of a bonus. I know it's maybe a little negative as well, where you essentially can have free charges to place mines, demos, or booby traps. Mine is 1 charge, and the other 2 booby traps and demos are 2. And you only have 3 charges. So realistically, you can do 1 demo and a mine, 3 mines, etc. The catch is, once they use the charge, as far as I can see, you don't get any back, and you have to like send out the unit. It does have a little bit of a bonus versus like enemy forces, so it is permanently concealed unless someone reveals it, where it does get a little bit 25% damage and 40% accuracy against a target for about 5 seconds. But again, it's really not a fighting unit. It's 2 models. It's pretty weak. It does have like a 35 muni Panzerschreck shot, which can apparently, if it pens an enemy vehicle, can do actually quite a bit of damage. But I just don't think this is meant for just like a frontline unit. This is like maybe popping out while there's a battle going on and just causing chaos through a Shrek shot, or causing chaos in the back lines with mines, or a demo and hitting a vehicle coming up or something like that. Again, looks interesting, looks fun, and I feel like this battle group is really specialized for people that just want to mess with people behind the lines. So if you love messing with people or causing havoc, this is the way to go. Also, I should note something with the tunnel system, and this is where and I forgot to mention it, I do apologize. The tunnel system allows you to connect territory that's cut off. So typically in Co, the main idea that you want to go for is the manpower cutoffs. Typically, manpower cutoffs will designate, will be in certain areas and will cut off supply because that sector of the map will be cut off. You'll notice this because the territory that the enemy have or you will have will be blinking, and that means that it's cut off. That said, with the tunnels, you're still getting full resources from that sector that is cut off, so long as there's a tunnel there. Now, of course, you will know this if you're the enemy because you'll see you cut off the territory and it's just pure red. And Co is designed to be like, you need to press here and here to cut resources so that way you can have more muni, have more fuel, get armor out first and win the game. But again, this just goes against that, which I find so interesting and so unique. But anyway, last two, false orders, spy network. We got false orders, which is combat effectiveness and speed is reduced for the enemy by about 33% and 33% rate of fire. But that being said, false orders has to be within the influence of the tunnel. That's the thing. There's like, you have to be near these tunnels in order to do a lot of these abilities, which is, you know, a positive. It's a risk reward. Do these abilities, but you can risk your tunnel. But still, that modifier is actually pretty good and can help you potentially kill enemy forces coming on in, especially if they're slower to move or fight. That spy network, it's weird because when I think of spy network, I think of the mini map showing you everything on the map. That's not what this is. Spy network essentially will, you can pick an area close to a tunnel. It's permanently illuminated so long as that tunnel's there. So, and this is, unless I'm mistaken, passive. So it's just like you have the tunnel, you activate it, boom, permanent recon in that sector. So you can see what the enemy has until they destroy the tunnel, which is kind of big because the more you can identify and see enemy positions, the better you are for calling in airstrikes, for anticipating enemy attacks, for preparing ambushes, all this stuff. So again, it's a very interesting recon, and out of the two, I kind of like spy network a little more just for the permanent recon aspect, because again, it helps with airstrikes, especially with allies. But again, I can easily see false orders, like an enemy attack coming in, boom, activate it, and the enemy is just weaker and your allies can help deal with it better. So yeah, very unique for the Italian partisan stuff for the US. I'm very curious to play it. Again, it seems like this one is definitely more micro intensive, where the next one I'll get to is less so. So for me, I really like this, but I'm gonna suck at it, I already know. But I'll still do my best, and I still like how Relic is doing something different. It's taking the Co aspect, the fundamentals of resource gain, cut off, all that stuff that you would think of for a game, and going against it, which is so good. All right, last but not least, definitely not least, because oh boy, I got a lot of comments about this, was the Kriegsmarine. And again, I don't discount the Kriegsmarine. I just find it interesting. It's like, okay, we don't mention the Regia Marina, essentially the Italian Navy, but I like weird units. I like the Last Stand, like, was it Bogsword unit, the giant Goliath essentially with a rocket launcher, I think it's like 6 Panzerfaust, whatever the case may be. Looks interesting, looks fun. But anyway, Kriegsmarine squad unit. This is apparently an elite unit you can deploy. There is a bit of a cool, so you can't like deploy a lot of these. Kind of like the Polish one. It is a little bit higher up the tree, so don't expect this first thing, kind of like the Australians. I would say more like the Canadians, where there's like, you have to get through the first set to get to the second. This one, it's right off the bat. It's the first one. Kriegsmarine essentially can heal buildings. It cannot heal armor, so don't expect this thing to, heal your Tiger. You're going to need your other dock infantry to do that, or, automatic repairs. This thing will, though, heal fortifications, and it will heal buildings. And then at that one, it takes no damage when doing all that stuff, supposedly. I am very curious how they balance that. I'm getting like Iron Harvest flashbacks. I can hear the music in the background because that game was notorious. I dropped that because the thing that bothered me the most was the bases didn't have, you know, defenses. So the enemy could just rush your base and kill everything, and real early on. And the second thing was, it was so easy to repair your mechs, and it was hard to hit those units. So these mechs are just constantly being healed, firing at each other. It's just so annoying. I'm getting, again, flashbacks because of that. So we'll see how they balance it. But that's the most like thing I've seen so far with these battle groups. Resupply, essentially, we'll get to that. But essentially, if you get resupplied, you get a free grenade. And that's 1 of 4. So what I do know is this unit can upgrade with 2 SG-44s and a bonus to make them 10% harder to hit, or an MG-42. And before you think like, oh, I know what I'm gonna go, they're both locked behind different things. The 2 STGs are locked behind the Light Support Company. The MG-42, the Mechanized Company, or Fire Support Company. So it's gonna be easier for you to get the 2 STGs than the other one. I'd be very curious to see with the bonuses how they do close range, because right now Assault Grenadiers for the dock are pretty solid. So if these turn out to be like another close range unit, yeah, that could be a huge bonus for them, because it's like, oh, okay, because I could get these guys for close range, and then I could get Palm Grenadiers for the MG 34 for a little bit longer range, and then they could heal my armor theoretically. So just something to keep in mind. So first we'll go to the left side before we get to hard points, because I feel like hard points is going to be the thing I'm going to just like gush about so much. But the SLD Starburst Flares, this is what I'm talking about for like reveal camo. So this could be a way so it fires flares in a line in an area that will reveal anything in camo, which is great for revealing stuff like tunnels. So they made sure to put stuff in there for like this battle group, which seems to be a hard counter against Partisan units. And I'll get to a little bit more of that why. But yeah, they have that, and then also they have a Stuka Overflight, which essentially drops like 3 bombs in a general area. It looks like it's something similar to, best way to put it would be like the US bombers, where except instead of heavy bombers, you have 3 Stukas. Not as powerful, but still can definitely cause a lot of damage in a certain area to break an enemy position and bust through. So again, between the two, if I'm dealing with Partisans, I think the flares are a good choice. But if I'm dealing with hard defenses, I think the Stuka Overflight is a good choice. But if you don't want to go with a bombing run, and you want recon and then another like strike, oh boy, don't worry. You can get Naval Intervention, which it fires a naval barrage, which again, I find hilarious. But essentially, instead of the British, which is like 3 shots over 3 times, it is 2 shots over 4 times and then smoke. So they did change up the naval artillery slightly compared to the British. And then if you don't choose that, the other option is going to be the Fritz X guided bomb. And this isn't like apparently super damaging. I know in the trailer it does show killing a Churchill, but I don't know. They've kind of hinted that it's not necessarily as strong in the live stream. So without testing it myself, I'm gonna just take the word and take what I heard from Relic and say, okay, it'll probably hurt armor and definitely on direct shot kill it, but it's probably not going to be like this, like, you know, instant death like the V1 is. But because you can control it, I understand why they don't do that. But you could chase armor, you could, and it goes into the Fog of War, so you can still drop this thing onto the Fog of War. So yeah, I think this will be great for a lot of, like, especially people who are doing a bunch of stuff and then can call this in and just, oh, there's a vehicle retreating, or, you know, a slow Churchill or Black Prince. Let me send that bomb out to follow it, and boom. So between the two, I think the Fritz X is definitely very much I'm more interested in than just more naval artillery. But I do appreciate the naval artillery also coming with smoke to help break up defenses, and then smoke to advance with your infantry. Now that all the call-ins are done, let's get to the hard points that are going to be able to afford you those call-ins. And probably to me, out of everything, these hard points could be the most, like, I don't say overpowered, but they could be the strongest aspect. These hard points on the manpower or, you know, fuel points, whatever, essentially there are additional structures that you could hop in with your infantry. So first, you can garrison them. Second, they deploy crates. And from my understanding, if you have 4 of these, I believe it's up to 4 hard points, you get crates. Every 2 of them, you get a crate. 1 crate for, I guess, 1 unit, and that'll do either one of 2 things. That will give you 20 muni, and also a 20% rate of fire increase for that unit for 75 seconds, which I could just immediately see 2 Panzer IIIs, which, yes, armor can pick up the crates. Picking that stuff up and then charging the enemy with that increased fire rate, right? So again, that's a plus. The other plus is the medical stuff. And I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, okay, it's medical supplies. What's the big deal? They heal infantry in combat. They heal armor in combat. 2 seconds for infantry, 8 seconds for armor, consistently for 75 seconds. Like, yeah, no, that can be insanely effective. And you do get a crate automatically every 2.5 minutes. I believe it said 150 seconds, so about 2.5 minutes. You just automatically get it. And your allies can pick up a crate. You cannot. If you're the enemy and you're like, I'm going to get it with my Partisan, you cannot pick up the crate. The crate is not available to pick up with enemy units. So enemy armor, let's say you, again, like a hubber sneaks behind the lines, a dingo sneaks behind the lines, you're going for that crate, too bad. You do have to designate one of these hard points to deploy the crates, but still, the enemy can't take it and your allies can't. So you can give it to your ally, and you and your friend can join up with tigers and just have this insane rate of fire or health increase. Yeah, but it's not, it's, of course, let's just add more to this. You can upgrade it with a retreat point. You can upgrade it with a health point. You can, or it's like medics. You can upgrade it with the flak, which we'll get to later, and you can upgrade it with resources. The resource one is standard, right? It's your standard sort of like, 50% increase for fuel, right? Or something like that. But what's interesting is, and from what it said, resource points get like 20% strategic points, which I'm reading them like, okay, does that mean you get 20 manpower? It's essentially saying you get 20 manpower. If that is the case, that's a huge plus for the dock. This is essentially could be the supply, the access one, because again, those resources go to your team. It's a cash. It's going to help your team. It's not like the Obo Blitz trucks for the Wehrmacht that only help, I believe they only help the 1 player. So yeah, it's gonna be a very good battle group. But don't wait, there's more, because you can either do supply reserve, which means you can pick to deploy, a resupply crate or medical point with that ability, or you get improved hard points, which gives a flak gun on the hard point, which you can upgrade to, which again, with that flak gun, it's essentially anti-air, anti-infantry, and anti-light vehicle, and the shots can hurt even medium tanks through side or rear armor. You can't garrison anymore, but also, unless I'm mistaken, it gains additional health with that upgrade. So it just makes it harder to kill. Now, I will say that making a retreat point out of that also gains more health for one of these hard points. And I do want to admit, all these upgrades are going to take some manpower, so you making all this is going to definitely decrease your army. But the whole point of the dock is you're trying to become a vehicle-based army. That way, because your infantry is more expensive. This, while yes, expensive, if you're building these hard points on manpower points and getting a little bit more, it can kind of help cover some of the cost over a long term. So yeah, I like improved hard points a lot. So that's probably my go-to, but again, both can be very good depending on the situation. And then of course, let's get to the last two, which is interdiction, which essentially it improves the apparently it improves the med kit and the supply crates. I couldn't exactly see how much it improves for each. I'm assuming it improves health or it improves the amount of muni and rate of fire. But also every decap gets a new cache at the supply point. So you go decap, let's say, an enemy point. Congratulations, you just got a free crate. And it's like, oh, okay. Now, again, if they're just, and I wish I had more details on this, if the crate is just every time you decap, you get one, and that's how it improves it, still very good, because you could easily just decap a point with your, motorcycle team or something and just pump out points to heal your infantry, and while also giving them bonuses, or heal your armor, or, real fast, or give your infantry, bonuses against other infantry. So that can be very effective. And then there's strategic mobility. And this one is essentially all your hard points essentially is your supply line. So on that supply line, in that area, especially if you bring it up to the front line, all the infantry and armor you have are going to get speed bonuses to just go up. So you can have your retreat point be your base and not have to worry about a forward retreat point where the enemy could arty you, right? Usually if you're in your own base, you have more protection, especially from columns where they can't happen. You can just rush up your troops with the speed boost up to the front and then retreat them back. So it has a similar purpose to the tunnel system retreat, where maybe that's a little bit more instant. This just keeps that protection, right, in a different way. So again, very good, and I can see that being used in 1v1, where 1v1 you may not build a lot of caches. And I understand this battle group may not be picked in 1v1s, but 4v4, I'm just it's blowing my mind. But if you do build caches in 1v1, that strategic mobility could be huge for deploying your troops up to the front and increasing that speed, with also providing the protection of the base, so you don't have to worry about, airstrikes, artillery, you name it, on a forward retreat point. But yeah, that's the Kriegsmarine. Overall, I see a lot of potential for 4v4, most definitely in the Kriegsmarine. I can see a lot of havoc, especially in city maps, for the Partisan battle group. And I think the Polish is all around just a great battle group with a lot of really cool abilities. But yeah, each have their own flavor, each have their own bonuses. I will say it seems like the Kriegsmarine, maybe because of all the flak defenses and other stuff, could help hold back maybe the Partisans, because again, if they come out and they get close and they're trying to deal with the cache, the flak will just annihilate them. Maybe less so if you just have normal hard points, but I could easily see some counters there, especially with the flares and whatnot to reveal tunnels and other things. So yeah, just a lot of good stuff here. I'm not going to deny a lot of really, really good stuff in this in all three battle groups. But hey, what do you guys think? Please leave your comments down below. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This has been Greyshot17, and I'll see all of you next time.
Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and before y'all go, let me give a special shout out to Patreon supporters Joey G240, Milam, Big Cooch, Aphyria, Ace, Pyro Shark, Tonybee 95, Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support and helping me grow my channel and support my channel and everything I do. Thank you, and to the rest of you, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.